Being back after an exclusive 3-year tour of Europe, Scandinavia and the subcontinent, I thought I'd do something polite and avoid any controversy, so obviously straight into deep racial territory, but not in a negative way of course, because here is my view of the scale of toughness of white guys, from the softest of Nintendo Switch fans to the type of shark fighting maniacs that chew glass. Sorry, but have you seen Jacob Rees-Mogg? These soft-wristed, chinless, soy-guzzling bug men, to quote a phrase, are the absolute bottom rung of our particular ladder of danger. The kind of margarine hands that would struggle to finish a large meal, let alone finish a duel to the death with axes. The women with those Lara Croft accents sound sexy as hell of course, but this isn't the list of sexy white people, is it? Is it? No, it's not. Given how many empires and kingdoms existed in this part of Europe, it's frankly a shame to see how this place turned out. They spend far too much time being friendly to tourists and building efficient transport systems. I personally blame Angela Merkel. Bloody Germans. This one might surprise some people due to Australia in particular having a supposedly macho sporting culture, but macho does not mean tough. A culture that also glorifies surfing cannot be considered tough or badass in any sense, my pedigree chums. Surfing is literally growing out your hair, putting on bright green shorts and pretending to be flotsam and jetsam as the current of the water moves you about. Plus, one of their biggest sports is cricket, which is just shameful behaviour. Sorry chums, but you are too nice for your own good. At least to tourists, if not specifically to each other. And your accent is pleasant to listen to. I always think of Neighbours when I hear you talk. This might also be a surprise to some people, as we are talking about the original doomsday prepper, gun culture, individualist society folk here. However, for every one ultra badass maniac living by the true constitution in some mountain lair, there are dozens of pudgy, overly offended, paper-wristed pod people growing those disgusting patchy beards and getting excited about new Nintendo consoles. Take your Harry Potter glasses off, cut your hair, and go to a gym, you chubby creature. This country is also the land of BuzzFeed and Huffington Post. Sorry chaps. Defeat! These poor guys aren't considered hard enough to hang out with the proper vatos and shit. I feel bad for them. They're not even dark enough to be harassed by the police. But at the end of the day, when people talk about the constant race wars in America, for example, they are talking about blacks and whites. These light-skinned Hispanics are considered bystanders with really great food. You've all seen Guy Ritchie movies, and you've all laughed at those ridiculously over-the-top accents. Even though there are some decent hardmen down there, you frankly sound too comical to take seriously. Plenty of decent knife crime though. You're probably poor, white, and live in southeast England, but not the trendy, liberal, expensive parts of London, and not the leafy commuter villages. Also, the preponderance of hillbilly tractor drivers brings your score down a tad. There are some real big dudes cutting about in this region, but you never know if you'll get a knife in your urethra or a leaflet about gentrification. There's not too much to say about these gents. Everyone talks about the Vikings, but that was literally over 20 years ago. It's super cold and windy, so they are used to harsh climates and looking like albinos. On the other hand, they are disturbingly excited about multiculturalism and socialism, and the only tough thing about that is looking yourself in the mirror whilst knowing your entire society lives on massive taxes and a colossal oil fund. Also, fuck IKEA. To be honest, I'd rather have an Irish lad next to me in a rumble than most English lads, but I should point out that this was really close, like 91% over 90% close. As stereotypical as it is, the Irish can handle a rumble and a drink. However, they are a bit fonder of going abroad, dressing like complete twats and trying to sing songs with passers-by. It's too friendly for this list. I'm sure having 13 guys all dressed like the Pope seems super hilarious, but it's not. This might be kind of rude, and if anyone actually watched these videos I might get some hate mail, but I've always thought of the Welsh generally as basically a humourless version of the Irish. Of course their accent is quite comical, but their football fans, for example, don't have the reputation for drunken hijinks the way others do, but that translates itself into a slightly higher spot in this list. These guys are a lot more useful in terms of rumbles than some of the previous groups. Plus, some of them are so hard to understand they automatically become more aggressive sounding, which helps, not as clownish as those soft lads from London, and more prone to enjoying cold air without a shirt. Obviously, I had to put our team up above the rest of the British and Irish filth. It's colder and wetter up here, it's windy all the time, and thankfully we mostly have avoided the estrogen fest that lots of other crackers seem to be dealing with, although it is starting to seep its way into our lush, sheep-filled lands. Sure, our Neds, or chavs as the English call them, dress in embarrassingly oversized trousers and hoodies and care nothing for dental hygiene, but you can expect fists to fly at the drop of a brown and yellow hat. Have you even seen our knife crime and street violence stats? Of course, I'm not oblivious to reality. So many of these poor underfed and undertanned chaps look like they've suffered daily beatings. Eastern Europe is a land with centuries of struggle, rough living conditions, invasions from left and right, people stuck wearing tracksuits from 20 years ago and driving cars with unpronounceable names. But when you see how often they smile and take on god-awful jobs for 1950s wages, you know you're dealing with some real G's. Plus, they are pretty handy in a rumble, which you'll know if you've ever seen Wisla and Cracovia fans fight in that big park. If you have any kind of brain in your skull, this should be predictable. You do not fuck with Russians, bro. If you ever need a solid squad of white people for fisticuffs, you send for a team of Vladimirs. Hard knuckles, those horrible knitted green jumpers. They absorb vodka the way everyone else absorbs a nice Italian fiesta. These are not to be trifled with. So that's the list. What do you think? If you have an opinion, you know what to do. Keep it to yourself because I don't care. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to Obsidian Ant or whatever if you like Elite Dangerous, or Rachel Oates if you like atheism and philosophy and shit. I thought about doing a video like this for other racial groups, but it seems like it would come across as racist and stereotypical, and the last thing I want to do is stereotype people. That's a really English thing to do to someone, wouldn't you say?